Grab your scrap fabric, your favorite cup of tea, and let's turn an almost quilt into a beautiful scrappy tote bag. Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. Or if you're new here, welcome. I'm Jackie and I love using scrap fabric to make quilt as you go quilt blocks, scrap fabric quilt blocks, and all kinds of patchwork projects. Today we'll be creating a tote bag that has a funny backstory. It actually started as a quilt as you go brick wall quilt, but let's be honest here. If I had kept going, I'd probably still be sewing bricks when I'm 90 for this quilt. And you know I love quick projects. So instead of a full quilt, we're going to be making a tote bag. My sewing tea for today is called Organic Herbal Comfort from the Full Leaf Tea Company, my favorite tea company. It's a licorice root and peppermint blend that calms and relaxes. And let me tell you, after this project, I really need this. It is a blend of licorice root, peppermint, fennel, and holy basil. Perfect for calming the mind and easing stress. And we could all use a little of that, right? I'll leave a link in the description box below so that you can get yours. And if you use Jackie20 when checking out, you'll get 20% off your entire order. I am an affiliate, so thank you so much for supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. Let's get into the project. I got the inspiration for this project from Sandy over at So Easy by Sandy. She used smaller bricks, but mine are cut at 6 inches by 3 inches. And I will link her video in the description box below. But what she did is a self-binding method. I had made up some templates thinking I would do the same thing, and my template looks like this. So here is the brick, and then here is an inch around, and then you would just fold this up and fold again to make the bricks. So your backing fabric would look like this. You would lay down a piece of batting, and then I was just gluing it on to glue based. And then you go and just lay it like that. And then lay your brick, which again is 6 by 3 on top. And then you'll fold over the edges twice, just like that. And then you would sew it on. I did do some like that, and it does come out kind of cute, but this project was too fiddly for me. So this one we threw out, and then I said, what if I just used binding strips? If you want to make the quilt, you'll need 13 squares, which are 3 inches by 3 inches, and 65 bricks that are 6 inches by 3 inches, and that would get a quilt that is 33 inches across and then 36 inches down. But we're not doing the quilt today. I gave up on that. But, and it's not to say I don't like the look of this. I love it. So here's what I have. You are just going to make a bunch of bricks just like this. And to make the brick, you can make all these at the same time. So you will grab, let me see if I can find them. Here we go. Take a light backing fabric. I have muslin here. Use whatever you have. Dabs of glue. Lay it on top. Line them up the best you can. Dabs of glue. Lay that on top. Throw it to the side, and then make your next brick. So the brick is 6 by 3, backing fabric, batting in the middle, and your scrap fabric on the top. Easy peasy. So, and then you will need, how many squares did I say? So if you want to make the tote bag, and I'll give you a sneak peek of what we got going on here. Let's move this out of the way. This is so pretty. I wish I could keep going to make the quilt, but it will take too long. And here's a close-up of the front. and of the back. I am really loving this. So I left one row off so that I could show you what we were doing to get that on the bottom. Actually, this will be the bottom because we're going to leave the bottom here, or it'll actually be the side of the tote bag. We're going to leave a raw edge there so that we can sew that up to get our tote bag. So let's talk about the materials. I might use my prototype for a pocket on the inside so that it doesn't go to waste. All right, materials. To make the tote bag, you're going to need, I'll try to bring this up so that you can see it, 30 scrap fabric rectangles 6x3, 6 scrap fabric squares 3x3, 30 pieces of batting or flannel rectangles that are 6x3, 6 batting or flannel squares 3x3, 30 backing rectangles 6x3, 6 backing squares 3x3, and approximately 1,000,000 feet of binding folded to 1 inch. I'm just kidding. I think it's going to be about 50 feet. I didn't measure it, so I'm sorry. But it's going to look like this, because on the side of our bricks, we're going to take this and fold it over. So these are 3x3, just like that. The binding is muslin, and it looks just like this. It's a 2-inch piece that I just folded to the center, and I just made a bunch of it. But I'm thinking if I measure correctly, it's going to be about 50 feet of it. For each row, you need 10 3-inch pieces, and in between the rows, you will need, in between this, to connect your rows. Isn't that cute? I just love it. In between the rows, you are going to need 33 inches. So across here, because each row needs some binding on each side. So let me show you what I mean. And after I got started, I noticed that I could just do a lot of stuff ahead of time. Let me talk about the stitching real quick. For sewing on the binding, let me show you what I mean. This to the sides, and then you just fold it over. And you can glue baste if you want. I started with glue basting, just like that. I ended up just grabbing my trusty clips like that, and then on this side, like that. Then I used my Stitch in the Ditch presser foot so that I could get right on the edge, catching both sides. I can tell you now that from time to time, you're gonna miss on the back. Just go and stitch over it to catch that. It's perfectly fine, guys. So let's talk about the stitching. So this was a straight stitch, standard stitch. That's what I did there. And let's see if you can see it. You can see right here, I just went right along the edge, on this edge. Now in the center, you can pick a decorative stitch. On my sewing machine, it was called, and you have to check yours, it's called the Patchwork Double Overlock Stitch. On mine, it's 37, the width was 5, and the length is 2.5. So I can tell you, it is going to hold. And that's what this stitch in the center is. If you can see that. It's kind of like there's 2 stitches on each side and then a zigzag stitch in the center. And it looks pretty cool. Don't mind my crooked stitching, but it is really pretty. It's right in the center. So those are the stitches. You're just going to need a straight stitch and something to join the 2 pieces of binding. Like I said, if you want, you can take the time to glue baste each one of those, press them, and then you won't have to mess with clips. But I found over time, I was just going faster doing the clips. Now, if I look here, I want to show you, here is a square starting this row. See that? The next row, I'm starting with a brick, and it ends with a square. And then the next row, square, ends with a rectangle. So you'll want to alternate that if you want to get the brick look. And then we want to make sure that if you're going to bind this, you leave one of these off on the ends. So you won't put two on each one. Does that make sense? Now, if you wanted, you could. If you were making the quilt, I think that would be okay. But because we're making the tote bag, what we're going to do is finish this row down here. So we're going to start with a rectangle. And so you'll see on this rectangle, take that off, because this will be on the end. Then next, we will add a brick that needs 2 binding strips. Just like that, just flip it over, and you can eyeball. If you go like this, you can see that they are even there. And there were only a couple times where I missed the other side and had to go back and sew that down. And if you really wanted to get scrappy, you could do some light patterned fabrics. But the whole idea is to make bricks. So this is kind of like the mortar in between the bricks. So let's put that one on. And just look to the side, looks pretty even. It's okay if you miss a little here because that's going to be covered up with binding. And then, so let's move this just like that. This one has a raw edge. And then next we will get another brick ready. This is a great scrap buster. And then put these 2 on. Now this one looks kind of off. So I'll just come in there. Remember, no perfection, no rules. Just get it the best you can, just like that. And then I will show you one more. Whatever process you want to use to get to the end result, I will leave that to you. So then you can see it does start to get pretty fast. And let me show you the square that's at the end. The square that's at the end of this row will only get binding on one side, just like that. Easy peasy. And then it will go like that. And then we'll have our other bricks in the center. Like I said, it's really easy. It is just time consuming. So if you like those types of projects, some of this is stuff that you could take while you're watching TV or listening to a podcast and do up a bunch of these and then go to the sewing machine. And I'm not sure, I know that I've seen several people who hand sew these. I'm not a hand sewer, but I think maybe it would be softer because this is a pretty lofty piece of work. But I know that the hand sewing would be gorgeous. I love that look of the hand sewing. So if you are someone that does that, I just applaud you because I know that this is something that would work for that. You could just whip stitch all these things on there. There's another one. And because I did make all the bricks to make a full quilt, I can make another tote bag, but not today. See how easy it is? It's just a little bit fiddly. There we go. This is our last row. I am going to go and put my edge stitching on each of the pieces of binding, and I'll meet you back here. I am back from the sewing machine, and you can see here I've got the binding sewn on, and here's the back. I'm going to insert a few clips here of me doing that at the sewing machine. And as you can see, you'll just take your time. Don't get in a rush like me, or you'll have to go back and secure the back. I did miss a couple spots. But just take your time, enjoy the process. And if you mess up, it's going to be okay. All right, we have our bricks laid out here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just put them in a row. And this little guy, 3 by 3, goes on the edge. Now we need to connect our bricks. And that's where that stitching came in. Let me see if I can find that for you again. And I'm using this type of connecting stitch. And on mine, it is called the patchwork double overlock stitch. It's set to 5. If you want to take it up to 5.5, just for that security, you can do that. But anywhere that there is binding, we are going to take this to the sewing machine, use your open toe foot, or something with a wide foot, and use that stitch, or a simple zigzag stitch will work too if you prefer that to go really, really fast, and just stitch those closed. I'm going to do that for all of these. Let me put these back in order, and then I'll come back and show you. Easy peasy. I'll insert a clip of me putting these together, just a short clip, while I snip off all my threads here. I think I would enjoy this project if I made the bricks a little bigger, maybe. A different size rectangle. What do you think? Okay, now we are ready. Let's get rid of that. Now we are ready to attach a piece of binding to this. It's a little longer, so what I do is I kind of start in the center, kind of like that, and I lay it open on the open side. And this is what works for me. Just find what works for you. And again, you could do glue basting with this. And I'm just going to lay that right in the center at those seams, fold that over and clip. Same way here. Then I can come back and adjust where I need to adjust to make sure I catch both sides. And you can kind of feel, if you put your fingers on here, you can kind of feel where they are on both sides. And flip that. This, you can look on the end, and that matches. Whoops, there you go. So we can clip that one. Kind of feel. And even after you get this clipped down, we want to make sure that this is going in the right spot on our quilt, or in this case, the tote bag. Because I'm not sure that even my binding is straight on here. It's pretty good, but okay. And we'll take our stitch in the ditch foot and we're going to sew all the way across. Let's check this end piece. Make sure that that is good to go. And it is. There we go. I see. We got something off here. And you'll just check both sides. I got something off a little bit here. There we go. Now we're good. And then this one. And if you're a pinner, you could do a lot of pins in here. That might ensure a little better success. This looks a little off, so I'm going to bring that down. You can just go through and adjust. And what I should have done is check this real quick, because we know that this is going right here. And we are good to go because this has a raw edge here. Not only that, it has a square here and a rectangle here. Hopefully you can see that. Square here, rectangle here. So we are good to go to sew on this binding to attach it to this side of the tote bag. When I have that done, I'll be right back. All right, we just need to trim off this right here. Let me grab a ruler and my rotary cutter, and we'll just trim that up just like that. Now let me stand over here so that you can see this whole thing. Let me see if you can see it. Otherwise, I will bring you back here and bring this up. There you go. What do you think? I think it's beautiful. For the handles for our tote bag, I will be using this cotton twill tape ribbon. Mine is 1.5 inches, but you can do 1 inch. But what I like about this is I don't have to make handles and turn inside out or anything like that. It's already finished on the edges. So I think this will be perfect. I will leave this linked in my Amazon storefront, and the link is in the description box below. But you get 50 yards, and I use this for a lot of things in my projects. Our tote bag is going to be folded like this. It's going to be a large tote bag. I'm not even going to box the corners. I do need to finish the top. So I do have some binding left that I can do that with. So I'll just take one and put it on the top of our tote bag. And I will sew that on just like I sewed on the others onto our bricks. I will do that real quick and I'll be right back. I just want to show you real quick. I put the binding on the top of my project just like that. Let me clip this down. And the same principle, I'm just making sure it's even on both of these sides. Just clipping that down. If you wanted to pin, you could do that as well. And then I'm just gonna sew right on the edge all the way across. and I will be back for the next step. I put the binding on the top, and now I measured, no rhyme or reason for my measurements, but about 4.5 from the edge so that I could add my handles. I measured out 24 inches for each side for the handles. No rhyme or reason for that. I just kind of put it over my shoulder to see how that would look. And I'm just going to lay this here, come down about 2 inches. Again, no rhyme or reason, but it just seems to be a good measurement. Make sure that's centered on that mark. And I am going to pin that. And then I'll just sew a square twice on that. Just like that, and I'll get it right on the edge and go around twice. And then take the other side of your handle, make sure it's not twisted. Again, 2 inches. That looks about right. And again, remember, measure twice. Something could shift. Okay, I've got those pinned in place. And then I'm just going to flip this up and over to make sure I get the placement for the other handle in the same spot. And let's see, that looks about right. 2 inches down. And I'm just matching up from the other set of handles. Pin those in place. I think that might have shifted. Let me just be sure. Nope, we're good. 2 inches. Okay, and then our other handle, just make sure it's not twisted. Here's this handle, 2 inches. These make great shopping bags. I love it. Okay, again, I'm just going to do a a square twice around there, just a regular straight stitch. You could do a zigzag so it looks pretty on this side. Whatever you'd like to do. I'll be right back. My handles are on and they look like this. And I could have put an X in, and I may go back and do that. And that's what it looks like on the front. You can hardly see it. Just like that. And then I'm going to sew in my prototype as a pocket. And what I did was, I know it's not centered, but I want to take advantage of seams that I already have. And I'm just going to sew on those seams. When I have that done, I'll be right back. All right, we've got our handles on. Our pocket is in here, so I can throw my cell phone in here and my car keys when I go shopping, and I'll know where they're at, because if I put them in my purse, I can never find them. But yeah, I really love this. All we need to do now is sew up the sides. I am going to cheat. I'm going to use my serger. I'm just going to turn this inside out, bring this up, and serge those edges closed. If you don't have a serger, it's okay. Just use the overlock stitch on your sewing machine. Go slow. It will work just fine. You could do the overlock and then just do a single stitch right up the side. That will work just fine. So let me go do that and I'll be right back. I'm back from the serger and I just serged each edge closed, just like that. We're going to turn this inside out. Just punch out that corner. Punch in this corner. Look how adorable this is. And roll the corners. But so cute. So adorable, right? And then it has a little pocket in there. We don't care if it's crooked. It is functional. I can put a lot of fabric, groceries in here. What do you guys think? Would you do the bricks a different way? Because now our bricks were this way, but now they're this way. But I think it's just fine. So let me know in the comments what you would do differently. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a Bible verse and a final thought to encourage you. The Bible verse is from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 16. Therefore, we do not lose heart, even when our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day. Sometimes our projects, like this quilt turned tote, don't go exactly as planned. But just like in life, God has a way of reshaping our unfinished pieces into something useful and beautiful. Each day He renews us, strengthens us, and reminds us that His plan is always greater than our own. Thank you so much for watching, sharing, and commenting. I can't thank you all enough. It truly means the world to me. And until the next video, God bless you.